When it comes to your child's health,
You want care that's close, convenient,
and centered around the needs of your family.
At MMC Pediatrics, we're more than just doctors.
We're partners in your parenting journey.
here for every growth spurt,
for every boo-boo.
every fever, and every flu.
Our team approach means that your child always sees someone that knows them.
We are MMC Pediatrics.
We are right beside you.
Every step of the way.
We're the Good Neighbor Network, FM 101.9 and AM 1450 Murfreesboro, FM 100.5 Smyrna, audio and video streaming at WGNSradio.com. This is the Roundtable, Tennessee Association of Broadcasters Award winner for Best Local Talk Show. A look at the news, views, politics, sports, and people shaping Rutherford County.
Well, good morning, everybody. Welcome into the Roundtable here on WGNS. Chip Walters with you from Exit Realty, Bob Lamb and Associates, and the Blue Raider Network. And it is a beautiful, beautiful day here in Murfreesboro. We haven't been able to say that on Wednesday the last couple of weeks, but low humidity, just a nice day outside. Hope you're taking advantage of it this week. This also coming up Friday night, it will be the first Friday Night Live concert on the Square. And the Piano Men will be the featured guest, and they'll be doing music of Elton John and Billy Joel. So, and again, they'll be on the west side of the Square. They're moving from the east side over to the west side with the stage. So it'll all get underway about 6:30. So bring your chairs and your coolers and have a good time on Friday night. Well, today's guest, somebody that we have been in contact for, I guess, a couple of years now to try to catch a date when he was going to be in town, and glad to welcome in 13-term United States Congressman Bart Gordon of Murfreesboro, and I'm glad we got it worked out. And
Thanks, Jim.
Yeah, glad we had a good day for it. So.
Besides 13 terms in Congress, I was also sixth generation here in Rutherford County.
Six generations.
Yeah, we've been here a long time.
When did how much of your family history like that do you know of when they got here, where they landed and all that?
I was fortunate, and my grandfather he thought everybody was a cousin.
Yeah,
and he could figure it out somewhere along the way.
I tell people all the time that I've got my dad's gene, that I will talk to you long enough to figure out how I'm kin to you.
So he told me about all of that, and like a lot of families, they came over from North Carolina, and then my grandfather would say that when the grand jury met in North Carolina, the population in Tennessee increased, and that's where a lot of our relatives came over.
And what, y'all were out in the Milton area?
Midland.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so you all, I heard you talking. It was raising dairy cows and hogs and other stuff. What lit the fire under you to want to be involved in government or at all? Was it when you were at MTSU as a student, or did it start before that?
It was before that. Really, it was my grandfather who was somebody who really felt like he needed to be, a constructive part of the community. He helped start the Farm Bureau here. He helped start the co-op. He was on he was a county commission. He and his brother were on the county commission, or squires at that time when they were on the county court. It's a school board and those sort of things. And so he instilled in me an interest in public service. And then when I was a senior in high school, I helped John Bragg, who you might remember.
Yes.
He ran for Congress. He was unsuccessful, but he really inspired me to think that Congress was the highest office that somebody like me, no big family name, no personal money, could achieve with just hard work. And so for the next 17 years, that was my total goal, through MTSU, through law school, coming back, and it worked out. So I'm so grateful to the folks here. And 26 years later, I was able to retire undefeated and unindicted. And so I was happy about that.
You're in the club. That's not all bad. When you first got in, obviously you get committee assignments and that kind of thing. Did you kind of lobby at all to get into certain areas, or did it just kind of come your way because you were with science and technology and things like that, energy, some of those different committees. And is that where the real work gets done?
Well, a lot of people want to be on the appropriations for their, they spend the money or Ways and Means. I really wanted to be on a committee of the future. I wanted to be somewhere where I was just not trading around, but was trying to, help the community. And so science and tech, that's the future. So that was one place I wanted to be, and then energy and commerce was another. So I was lucky to have good committee assignments.
Yeah. And one area I wanted to talk about a good bit about science and technology was you had a lot of dealings with NASA in that time, and then we went through a period later where NASA was not doing a whole lot, and it's kind of been reborn with the International Space Station and I think about Barry Wilmore, who was one of those who was stuck up there for 8 or 9 months.
Yeah.
But during your period and working with NASA, what did you feel like the biggest achievements you all were able to make?
Well, I think in the macro sense, it was inspirational for kids. I remember going out in the backyard when I was little and seeing Sputnik go across, the sky, and we'd see those bleak. That was frightening. And so it showed us, when John Kennedy said, we're going to go to the moon, we're going to do it in this short period of time, not because it was easy, but because it was hard. And so I think it was inspirational. So that in the macro sense, more in the micro, many technologies that power our economy now came from NASA and from the space program. And I'll tell you an interesting story there. The committee, we called it the Science Committee to abbreviate, but really the Science, Space, and Technology Committee. So we had a jurisdiction over the space program, and I spent a lot of time there. And when NASA really was it's a world-renowned organization. So there was a point at which there was an effort to more bring the private sector in. And quite frankly, I was skeptical of that. I think you got human lives at stake here,
right?
But Howard Baker used to say that you need to listen to others because sometimes they might be right. And so as we went through the debate, then I realized there was a role for the private sector there, and had the legislation that allowed the private sector to some extent compete, to some extent join with NASA. And now we're seeing that it's how much it's unleashed and what a great boon it is for our economy.
Yeah, and you correct me here because it seems like on the private side that you've got Elon Musk's group, and then you have the Jeff Bezos group. Are they the two main private space companies as far as putting rockets in the air? Yeah, I mean, you have other groups that are doing different things, but they are the real drivers of the rockets. And then you have others that, are looking to maybe some private space stations and sending up modules with medical experiments. But and again, I see this somewhat bifurcated in that the private sector is doing what they should do. They're the private sector. They're making an economic, benefits there. NASA is still doing a lot of the science research that we need to know about our Earth, and so it's become a good partnership. I would imagine you were in on the kind of the ground floor of the planning of the International Space Station. Yes. Talk about that and what a grand undertaking that was, and in particular when you were planning it with other countries to be involved. Well, let me make another admission. At the time, I thought it was too expensive, and I thought it was going to be draining money from other programs, and it wound up doing it to some extent. And so we were able to sort of broaden it so that it wasn't just an experiment to have, astronauts up there, but made it as a vehicle to, again, find experiments in medical research in a variety of ways. So I think it worked out well. Yeah, what's amazing now is we've seen. I remember watching, when they landed on the moon the very first time, and to see how you go through the whole space shuttle era, and then you get now to where we are, and you never want to take it for granted, because I still am amazed every time I get on an airplane and it gets off the ground, but much less, go up into space. And I've got an app on my phone to where I can look on that app and know when I can go out in my backyard and watch the space station come across the sky. And it's amazing how, it has become weaved into everyday life.
Yeah. Well, I told you how things I did wrong. So let me tell you something.
Go right ahead.
Let me tell you something I did right.
Shake your tail feathers here, right?
After we went to the moon, folks wanted to go directly to Mars. And I kept, and that was going to be a multi-year, very expensive effort. And I said, folks, the public will not sustain funding that for that long without benchmarks. And that one of these days, the Russians or somebody, Chinese, are going to go to the moon. And we're not going to say, oh, been there, done that. We're going to say, oh, they're there now. They've got strategic. We better be sure that we, have our place on the moon and then use it as a launching play, to go to Mars. And so that's what really wound up happening. And we're seeing us now recognize that we need to get back to the moon so that we can ultimately go to Mars. But those are all interesting things, but it doesn't affect everybody's life as much, So
well, and I think NASA's really good about putting out, okay, here's some things that have come from the space program and all that. But outside of NASA, in that science and technology committee, what else were you all kind of overseeing?
Well, I want to see the country prosper. I want to see people be able to, grow up in safe neighborhoods and get a good job close to home. And much of that is through technology. And so I passed some legislation called the American Competes Act, which was the foundational for our research enterprise. And if you go back to after World War I, the prosperity of this country has been based on cutting-edge technologies. We give money to universities and others to do research. They come up with innovation. The private sector comes in, takes that innovation, makes products out of it, so it creates jobs and expands the economy. And that was really what I wanted to do, was be sure that our research enterprise was strong and healthy, was generating ideas, so the private sector then could take it and make jobs and commerce, and that we would lead the world.
Yeah, and the American Competes Act came in 2007, got reauthorized in 2010, and with that, when you look at how it goes from Pennsylvania Avenue to Main Street, what were the real impacts of that?
Well, first, let me tell you sort of I don't know if it's a funny story or not, but it's a story about how Congress has evolved. So when I became, Lamar Alexander and I asked the National Academies of Science to do a report on competitiveness in America in the 21st century. They came back with a very, very good report. And so I'll use the word plagiarize, meaning that with their permission, I took their recommendations, put it in the legislation. I passed it in the House, and Lamar passed it in the Senate. And I passed it, and President Bush signed it within, about 6 weeks, which was warp speed at that time. And I realized this was a lot of new things, and why would I think I know so much about everything? And so I put a relatively short reauthorization, 3 years, so we could see what worked, what didn't work, and we could come back and fine tune it. So we get ready to reauthorize it. Congress had become much more polarized at that time, and what winds up happening is whoever's in the minority, whether it's Democrats or Republicans, they want to stop anything from happening, so they then can say the majority party is not getting anything done, elect me. So we had gotten into that point. And John Boehner was the minority leader at the time, and John tried to stop everything we did. And the bill was always bipartisan. I passed 151 bills and resolutions. They were all bipartisan. So the Republicans on the committee were all, they were all for it. But John kept putting up different kinds of barriers. And so finally, there was in the last hour of the last day that I was there in Congress, I used a parliamentary procedure that was in the books since the Continental Congress, but never used the way I did, and we got it passed. And it's passed, since then, and I think it's been very good for the country.
All right. Bart Gordon is our guest today. Spent 13 terms, 26 years representing the Rutherford County and back in the old 6th District right here in Congress. We'll continue our conversation right here on the Roundtable on WGNS.
When it comes to your child's health,
You want care that's close, convenient.
And centered around the needs of your family.
At MMC Pediatrics, we're more than just doctors.
We're partners in your parenting journey.
Here for every growth spurt,
for every boo-boo,
every fever, and every flu.
Our team approach means that your child always sees someone that knows them.
We are MMC Pediatrics.
We are right beside you.
Every step of the way.
What's the location of your emergency? I think my kid OD'd.
Hi, I'm Craig Harris. I'm County Commissioner of Rutherford County. One of the reasons I ran for office is because I wanted to bring awareness to the opioid epidemic that's impacting our county. To stop providing this epidemic with people as we educate them. We have a lot to do, and we have to come together as a community because this problem's not going away.
You've probably never heard of Lancaster, Tennessee. It's where I grew up on our family's farm.
Now tell them the whole story, John.
That's Chelsea, my wife. And what she means is I'm the 8th generation to grow up on our farm in Smith County.
And our boys make generation number 9.
I grew crops on this land, and I grew 2 great businesses.
Now John's growing a movement in his campaign for governor.
Tennessee needs a governor with CEO experience, someone tough like Trump.
Even President Trump tells people John is fantastic, and he really is.
President Trump makes tough decisions. That's what CEOs do, and it's what I'll do as governor. With our cities booming and people moving into our state like crazy, our governor will have to make tough decisions to keep Tennessee conservative.
A CEO who's tough like Trump. Yep, that's what we need, even if I am a little biased.
I'm John Rose. I'm asking for your support.
Pretty good for a farm boy, isn't it? Paid for by John Rose for governor.
This is Bud Rakes, former principal of Smyrna High School. I'm a resident of Adams Place, and I recommend that you come and visit us here at Adams Place. It's a great place to be. Well, you can be yourself, if you want to talk with people, you can. There's 3 square meals. The biggest thing I like here, that everybody is so friendly. And of course, I would encourage anyone, if they're looking for a place, to look at Adams Place, because they'll have a hard time beating it.
This is Good Neighbor Events with Bart Walker. Brought to you by AmeriCare Pest Control and the law offices of John Day.
This is a paid legal ad.
I'm attorney John Day. My wife Joy and I love dogs and have one of our own. But we've also helped people who have been injured by dog bites and dog attacks, as well as bicyclists who crashed after a dog attack. You need to know that the dog owner may have insurance to help pay medical bills and other expenses because of a dog attack. If your loved one has been injured by a dog, call the law offices of John Day for a free consultation.
Now, Good Neighbor Events. Here's Bart Walker.
June is busting out all over. The Parkinson Support Group meets on the first and third Friday of each month at the St. Clair Senior Center. Don't miss the Borough Art Crawl this Friday night from 5 until 8 on the historic Murfreesboro Downtown Square. Also Friday night on the square, come on by and paint a tile to be a part of the USA 250 mural mosaic. That's also on the square, Friday night, 6 until 8. And that also brings our Friday Night Live concert, 6:30 until 9:30, Friday night. It's a tribute to the Piano Men, Elton John and Billy Joel, Friday night on the east side of the historic Rutherford County Courthouse. So don't miss coming to the Murfreesboro Square this Friday night. The Secret Garden Party is also Friday night, 7 until 10 this Friday night. It benefits the Discovery Center at Murphy Spring. And that means the Secret Garden Tour is Saturday, 10 until 4 at Secret Gardens all over the community. Those are WGNS Good Neighbor events.
Rutherford weather.
Clear skies today with daytime highs approaching 83. Clear skies again tonight, lows around 58. I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki on News Radio WGNS. Right now, 69.
WGNS is powered by Middle Tennessee Electric, and they want to make sure you're in the loop. Head over to MTE.com to update your contact info so you can get those timely alerts on outages, billing, and more. That's MTE.com.
This is the Roundtable from News Radio WGNS on FM 101.9 and AM 1450 Murfreesboro, FM 100.5 Smyrna. Listen and watch at WGNSradio.com.
Welcome back into the Roundtable today on WGNS. Chip Walters with you, along with Bart Gordon, the 13-term congressman from this area. And you talked a little bit about how the America Competes Act and how you kind of championed that in the House, and Lamar Alexander championed it in the Senate. And you guys, I mean, that was an era where you were a Democrat. He was a Howard Baker Republican.
But we were both Tennesseans.
Right, both Tennesseans and both moderate.
Yeah.
And it was an era where in Nashville, in the State House, you had John Wilder and Governor McWhorter. You know, they were doing things across the aisle with people, and it seemed like a great time if you were going to be in government when people could work together.
You know, I think part of the reason that so many members of Congress and probably the legislature too are unhappy, and they are, oh man, people are unhappy in Washington. All parties are. It's fun getting things done. It's fun, fixing problems. It's fun doing those things. It was fun working with Lamar, and so they don't have any fun anymore. And when I say fun, the satisfaction of being able to accomplish something, fighting and stopping something is just not very satisfying to me.
Yeah, you said that you authored 151 different bills or resolutions that passed.
All bipartisan.
Yeah, all bipartisan. And what was the when you think about, okay, what was the lion's share of bills, the nexus of why they came about? Was it something you came up with, or was it somebody who walked in, when you had an office down here on West Main that people walked in and say, hey, this is a problem, and what can you guys do to fix it?
It's funny you brought that up. I was in the office on West Main, and Boots Donnelly comes in one day.
Really?
And he was, Boots can get a little frustrated anyway.
And he's doing great, by the way.
Oh, is he good?
Yes, he is. He's doing really good.
Good.
So, yeah.
So I think they had just gotten back from a bowl game, and he was talking about how he had to put, in essence, guards on each floor so that the agents wouldn't come in and try to, talk with and do things with his players. Because at that time, what would happen, still now, that if an agent offered you a dinner or a suit of clothes or whatever it might be, it didn't have to be a car or anything, to sign or to talk with him, then that athlete lost their eligibility and nothing happened to the agent.
Mm-hmm.
So there was, and Boots said, we need to do something about that. So there was a legendary football coach, Tom Osborne from Nebraska, who was Republican, and I went to talk to him, told him about this. He said, yeah, it's a problem. So we worked together, and
because that's right. Because Tom Osborne came into Congress after he coached football. That's right, and he and Boots got friendly from the early '90s when Middle went out and played Nebraska and played them well. And Tom Osborne had a lot of respect for Coach Donnelly after that.
Well, and I have a great deal of respect for him. He was such a decent guy. And so we got together and we put some legislation. The NCAA is so powerful. And at that time, it was the only bill that's ever passed that the NCAA opposed. But what we did is we just gave the attorney generals of each state the right to be able to regulate those sports agents, so they couldn't come in and take advantage of these 18, 19, 20-year-old folks. And we got virtually every coach in America, football, basketball, junior college, on it. And we got it passed. And again, so going back to your original question, a lot of times it was almost, how the Jerry Steinfeld, they take a little something, oh, do you know this? Well, I'd go to I would have 4 or 5 open meetings every weekend, and people would tell me things about their lives and about how government or laws impacted it that you really didn't know. And so taking those things back, trying to fine tune was really, as I say, it was very rewarding and fun.
Yeah, two prongs on that. Number one, has a lot of that been lost because you don't hear about town hall meetings or however you want to describe them, open meetings back in their districts at all, hardly anymore.
Well, a part of that is that the other side, whichever that might be, comes and yells at you.
Yeah, and
plants
people,
and it gets rowdy.
And it's both ways.
Right, exactly. Yeah. So, the civility that's been lost just hurts everyone and hurts governing.
How can that cycle ever be broken?
Well, let me tell you how I got so many bills passed, and that is that I treated the Republicans on the committee with respect, that we went through regular order. Anybody that had an amendment could bring forth an amendment. We would start things at the subcommittee, and we'd try to work it out. If we couldn't, then we'd have votes, and we'd go to the full committee and on. So it's up to the majority party, whichever it might be, to reach out to the minority and make them a part of it. Mm-hmm. When we had a 50-50 Senate some years back, Trent Lott was the Republican leader, Tom Daschle was the Democratic leader, and they had a phone on their desk with a direct line between the two.
Really?
Yeah. And you just pick it up, and it was, and so kind
of like the red phone we all heard about back in the day. Yeah.
So they would get in front of problems, see how they could work. You don't have to agree on everything, and you shouldn't agree on everything, but you should respect the other side. Try to work. Compromise, and then when it gets down to it, there's always going to be some things that you're going to disagree on. Okay, have a vote, but as long as the minority feels like they were treated fairly, then you move on.
Yeah, and that's where a lot of the the angst comes from, and that and I guess we always talk about how in sports, things start in the NFL or wherever, and it trickles down to college and then high school. Well, things that start in Washington trickle down to the state house and then to the counties.
Yeah, and I hate to see the county offices become partisan now. I think they should be. You should run on a nonpartisan basis, but that's somebody else's decision.
Well, the other tack I wanted to take, you talked about that bill about agents and that Coach Donnelly came into your office about. Could you imagine at that point where, if somebody talked to an agent, they would lose their eligibility?
Oh, yeah.
Now, there's rarely a football or basketball player in particular that is not represented in some way during what we now know as the NIL era.
Yeah. It's like anything else. It started off with the good intentions, but it's gone too far. And it's. I mean, I love sports, but it's taken some of the fun out of it for me.
Yeah, and now you've got, And I think a lot of people think the bill that Ted Cruz has going now, that it, I guess, includes the 5 years to play 5, which and only one free pass to transfer. Every coach I talk to, when I talk to them, I said, what can slow some of this down? And every one of them says, if you only can have one free pass. I was talking to Kermit Davis the other day about this, and about if you only have one free pass, and the next time you've got to sit out, then some of this is going to will slow down, and then that in turn would then help the payroll budgets from just ballooning so much, and can help bring them in check, because it's unsustainable what's going on. And I'm not talking about just here. I'm talking about in the power schools as well.
It's not fair to high school and grammar school kids that they're being pushed because that's their meal ticket.
Yeah, and then,
or their parents' meal ticket.
Well, and speaking, how it trickled down, even in Tennessee, the legislature passed a rule that TSSAA had to then adopt, that even in high school now, you can transfer once, and so again it trickles down, and a lot of times TSSAA is an easy target and can be a punching bag, but that one was that came out of the legislature, but we talk about here on campus and things that you got done. The story of Middle Tennessee Boulevard here in Murfreesboro, from Greenland Drive to East Main, is a beautiful thoroughfare. It was not always that way.
No.
Well, talk about how that happened, and how it got started, and how it all how a lot of people got involved to help, again, bringing folks together to help wind it up.
Well, it was obviously needed.
Yeah.
And it took, 3 or 4 years for me just to build, trying to put the money and the support together. The city helped, the university helped. And finally, at the end, once again, Lamar Alexander came through with that final little piece of it.
Yeah.
And at one time, and it may still be the case, it was the most expensive 1 mile road in Tennessee, but because it was much more than just a road.
Yeah.
It was really, at that time, it was the front door to the university, and it was safety bringing people across. So it's very rewarding to drive down there now.
Yeah, and and then the city took over and moved that on down to what's now Martin Luther King Boulevard, but that was it's. I remember the day there was they had the ribbon cutting on that, and Lamar was here, and that was a big deal, because man, it took a while, because there was so much that number one, you wasn't just digging up the old road and putting the new one down, and but when you think about utilities being moved, and there's so much that connects, like campus school in particular, back to the main part of the university, and then all of the landscaping that went involved in that. It's now like you said, it's a beautiful drive down through there.
But and there's going to be another renaissance, I think, when we turn the corner and go down Greenland Drive. There's going to be.
Are you part of the Lightning Committee or Lightning Zone Committee?
Yeah.
And I want to get into that a little bit deeper in a minute, but there's been a lot done on Rutherford Boulevard. So it's kind of being, when you talk about that big square, Rutherford, East Main, Middle Tennessee, and then Greenland, to encase all of that. But the next big area is going to be this area from Middle Tennessee Boulevard out toward Rutherford.
Right.
And what is that committee doing, and what is the vision you're seeing there?
Well, there's a lot going on, and this is much more than MTSU. This is really community. There's going to be over $250 million spent on that northwest corner, public-private dollars. Mayor joined us at our last meeting, and he is suggesting that they have Mayor McFarland, have a entertainment zone. So they've just about put everything together for the hotel. And so you're going to have to go somewhere else for your tattoos now, I'm afraid, because they're going to have an area there where you're going to have to be consistent with the architecture and so it's going to be like a lot of other big time schools where you can go to the grill afterwards. There's going to be all kinds of activities there, not just from ball games. So I think it then will be a vehicle to push out more commerce and I always think, whenever people come in from out of the county and they get some gas or they, buy a burger or whatever it is, that sales tax that makes those homes that you sell, they're hopefully they're in my house, the less of a property tax burden.
Right, and that whole area, and it's all tied into the lightning zone area. And you mentioned the hotel. There may be folks listening that don't know that there's going to be a hotel built
on the Woodfins,
the old Woodfin funeral home site, and then the lightning zone entertainment district right there. If you go to, I don't know, wherever, New Orleans or wherever, and you are in a hotel, you want to be able to walk to a restaurant close by or a club or whatever, and that's what's going to happen right there.
And let me give a shout out to Scott Dejolet. We requested, and he came through with some money to help do a bridge.
A walking bridge over Middle Tennessee Boulevard, right?
So it's going to connect all of that.
Yeah. And so you can then walk from the hotel across the bridge toward Murphy Center.
Mm-hmm.
So that's going to be, I'm try to wrap my head around that at some point, and that's going to be interesting, because the other part that kind of falls into all that is the new entrance into the Greenland Drive parking lot, and what Murphy Center is going to it's going to have a different look with the new entrance.
It's going to be the new entrance. It's going to be the new entrance to the university, and there's going to be thousands and thousands of folks that are going to come in there for commencements or for TSSAA or whatever it might be. And so it's sort of junky now. It needs to have a better curb appeal for the university.
Consistent look to it. Yeah. So, it's there's a lot of exciting stuff going on right there. Bart Gordon is our guest, and a 13-time congressman, and we'll be back. The hour flies by. We'll be back with the final segment after this here on WGNS.
When it comes to your child's health,
you want care that's close, convenient,
and centered around the needs of your family.
At MMC Pediatrics, we're more than just doctors.
We're partners in your parenting journey.
Here for every growth spurt,
for every boo-boo,
every fever, and every flu.
Our team approach means that your child always sees someone that knows them.
We are MMC Pediatrics.
We are right beside you,
every step of the way.
First Shot transforms Rutherford County youth. Coach Andy Herzer leads dynamic basketball camps and clinics, building skills and character since 2003. Kids dive into exciting STEM projects, sparking creativity through hands-on coding, art, and dance. They elevate their mind, spirit, and body in summer and winter programs. Visit FirstShotTN.org today to learn more. First Shot, where kids gain, elevate, and develop.
I'll be right there.
It takes all of us to power a community, both in plain sight and behind the scenes. Middle Tennessee Electric, bringing good energy.
Hey folks, it's Chip Walters from Exit Realty Bob Lamb & Associates, helping Middle Tennessee make smart moves in a fast-moving market. Whether you're buying, selling, or just exploring your options, you deserve someone who knows this community and treats your goals like their own. From first-timers to long-time homeowners, I'm here to guide you with clarity, confidence, and a steady hand. When you're ready to make the next move, start with someone you trust. Visit choosechip.net and let's make your 2026 move the right move.
This is Kim Dunaway from Sunshine Nutrition Center. You hear me on Monday mornings at 7:20 talking about how to lead a healthier lifestyle. We carry supplements, personal care, and grocery items at both our Murfreesboro and Smyrna locations, family owned and operated since 1989.
Hey, this is Jennifer at Steered Straight to Furniture and Thrift. Besides being a great thrift store, we have a greater mission. Our boss, Michael DeLeon, along with his wife, they go out into schools and they talk to students about drug and alcoholism, suicide, and bullying. We are a not-for-profit. Our money goes right into this ministry, saving kids' lives. If you like to back a great mission, please come and donate and shop with us at 1007 Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard.
This is the Roundtable from News Radio WGNS on FM 101.9 and AM 1450 Murfreesboro, FM 100.5 Smyrna. Listen and watch at WGNSradio.com.
Welcome back into the Roundtable, and sometimes the best conversations are the ones you all miss during commercials. And
well, Chip, before we're through, let me just say, it was so fun walking through here. I saw pictures of Nelson Smotherman and Ray Duffy and Monty Hale, and I really, really enjoy listening to your play-by-play.
Well, thank you.
It's your enthusiasm. You know the players, you know the game, and having grown up with Monty Hale, when I say Monty, listening to him,
right?
You really carry on that legacy. So thank you for all of us.
Well, I appreciate that, and I enjoy, because every once in a while I'll get a text from you or something about, hey, what about that guy, or what about that girl, or whatever it might be, and that's always fun to know that you're out there listening.
I think I have the record for I was President Obama asked me to go to the South Pole to review the science there many years ago. And so I listened to Coach Insel and one of the Lady Raiders from the South Pole on the internet. So okay. I think I have the long distance record.
You may have that. Well, I'll tell you one thing. Where we started, when we started putting the stream out there, I was blown away of how many emails that I would get from, because we'd put an email address out there, radio at whatever, and I would get emails from alums who were in the service over in the Middle East, and they would say, hey, it's 3 a.m. here at Bagram Air Force Base, and listen to the Blue Raiders play Marshall or whatever. Said go Blue, that kind of, and that really, from where we sat, it kind of said, okay, there's somebody out there, and I really want to do a good job for them.
Mm-hmm.
So
well, you are.
Well, I appreciate it. Speaking of that, we're going to have a guy on next week who talks about a lot of things, all things Tennessee, on his website. And one of the stories we talked about, we recorded it yesterday, that'll be on next week, was about the obelisk, which is the geographic center of the state. And if you don't know where that is, it's about a third of a mile down Old Lascassas Pike from the Greenland Drive parking lot at MTSU.
Next to a rock quarry.
And that's where those rocks came from that they built it out of. But we were also talking about, and ironically, we're 2 days off of Statehood Day, which was June 1st, and Tennessee celebrating its 230th birthday. But Murfreesboro, you talked about 5 generations or 6 generations have lived here in Rutherford County, but the obelisk, middle of the state, was a reason that Murfreesboro was the state capital for a little while.
Yeah, I'll tell you a real quick story. The capital used to bounce around, Bristol, Nashville, different places. And so there was a young legislator state legislator from Murfreesboro that says, rather than just bounce around, why don't we decide or determine where the center of the state is and put the capital there? And, of course, he knew it was Murfreesboro. Nobody else did. So it seemed like a good idea. So they passed it.
How did they figure that out?
I guess they got out the graphs, and maps, and so so Murfreesboro became the capital for 2 or 3 years, and then our county commission wouldn't vote whatever it was. I think it was $40 or something.
It wasn't to move library,
to move the books from Nashville to Murfreesboro, and so it went back to Nashville.
Now I've heard stories that there were, and the time that it was here, I think one of the legislators was Davy Crockett at the time.
Well, he could have been. Davy Crockett was later a member of Congress,
right?
And he got mad at something in Congress and got up on the floor and said, to hell with you, or to hell with Congress, I'm going to Texas.
Yeah, and so there he went.
Yeah.
And then, I guess he hooked up with Sam Houston down there, and,
that didn't last long.
No, and, remember the Alamo, so there it is.
But he could have been a state legislator.
I think he was a state legislator from Lawrence County at the time.
Yeah.
But now, we got about 6-7 minutes to go, and when you talked about things that you were proud of in your time in Congress, we talked about the things you did with the science and technology. When it came down to not member services, but constituent services, and being able to see a project through, obviously the Middle Tennessee Boulevard, that was a big project. Another one that you had your hands on, and that is going to have an incredibly long-lasting legacy, and somebody calling in right there for a little more, but is the greenway system here in Murfreesboro, which is an absolute jewel.
Well, it's one of the things that I'm most pleased with. When I happened to see an old map from Stone River Battlefield, and they had something like that. And so Kent Seiler and I, as well as I was Jimmy Stubblefield and Sean, and had such a great staff. We saw that and we wanted to replicate it, and there was lots of opposition
to the greenway.
Oh gosh, yeah, and until it got started, and now it really is something I see bring the community together. When folks are walking on the greenway, they say hello to each other, and it's
actual human connection. How about that?
Yeah,
what a novel idea!
And we're trying to move. We've got some more additions going on, but trying to let every part of the county, have a part of it.
So and there's obviously Nashville has theirs that runs.
But ours was first.
It was absolutely.
Bill Purcell came down to look at it and says, "I like this. Let us try to do something."
Do you ever see a time where they might connect?
That is again a dream of mine, and I helped Laverne and I helped Smyrna. They've got a greenway. We're very fortunate that the Corps of Engineers owns all the way that long. So my really dream is that we will go on the Corps property, connect. We've gone as far as the Murfreesboro city limits. So Rutherford County will have to cooperate to take it on to Smyrna. Mayor Esther wants to go on, but then you could go on through Laverne, and then you connect with Long Hunter State Park, and then Long Hunter takes you into Nashville. So we could go from Walter Hill through Murfreesboro around, then Smyrna, and
eventually get out to Opryland or wherever it is.
Oh yeah, and I think that a community has to have a good quality of life. And that's how people come in and they want to live here. Employers want to bring their factories here. And a part of that, government needs to pick up the garbage. They need to have good education. But you've got to have green spaces. You've got to have recreation areas. You've got to have a quality of life to put it all together.
Yeah. Another couple of things that you were involved in were Oakland's Mansion, also Murphy Springs. And then you get over on this part of downtown, and the whole wetlands area over here where the Discovery Center is. You were involved a lot in that.
Yeah, and again, it was a pleasure to do all those things. And when I was first elected, Stone River Battlefield was the second most endangered battlefield in the country. And so they said, well, it's so endangered, so much growth, we're not going to do anything. And I was able to, get the boundaries expanded. I guess we've probably tripled the size now.
Well,
and,
I was going to ask about that.
Yeah, and now there is a national organization, a national battlefield, that is buying large segments around, and it's a twofer. We're preserving some historic heritage, but also it's green space. In a fast-growing area like this, you've got to grab whatever green space you can.
Yeah, and was it the National Battlefield Trust? I think that's doing that.
Yeah, that's it.
And they, I know just in my time here, the area that is around the battlefield has, you look at that area along Broad Street where, that whichever plant that was that moved, Chromalox or somebody that moved out, but they went in and were able to purchase that piece, and that was a large area. But when you think about how big the actual area of where the battle took place, Jim Lewis came on here back in late December when we kind of did a hour by hour of what happened, which was great. And he's a great storyteller. But if you actually brought in the whole area that was part of where the battle took place, you would have to take over the Riverview subdivision, Stones River Country Club.
And we don't want to do that.
Yeah, we don't want to do that. But
we want to preserve it. I mean, I'll just make an admission. I'm less interested, quite frankly, in the Civil War than I am providing those green spaces, recreation areas. And it's a vehicle to both, to understand your heritage, but it's also, you see people out there walking their dog, just, you need that. You need to have places like that to go.
Yep. Well, since your time in Congress, you still lived in D.C. and worked in a law firm there. But
I still have my condominium at Forest Oaks.
Yeah.
Same one for 40 years.
Now, it's the other commission you're on deals with the presidency and Congress. And I don't have the exact name of it.
I'm on a variety of boards, and I'm also on the board of the Former Members of Congress Association, where I probably spend more time. I went for 10 days to South Korea last month with 3 Democrats and 3 Republicans to met with high-level officials and business folks over there. Did some good recruiting, I think, too, for jobs for here. And that's what I'm spending a lot of time working with the former members in a bipartisan way, trying to explain to the rest of the world what's going on and to hold on, with us. And because former members have a little more ability to be nonpartisan and talk about,
and you can speak your mind.
Yeah. And so that's been a lot of fun. And I am retired at the end of last year from the law firm. So matter of fact, I'm going over this week to renew my driver's license here in Tennessee, and I'm making
get in line. That's right.
My move back. My wife has a couple more years in her job, and she works in New York. She is the head of investment banking and capital markets for a company called Korn Ferry. So a lot of her work is in New York. So it just made sense that if we lived in Washington, I could commute to Tennessee and she could commute to New York, but soon we're all going to be able to come together here in Tennessee.
That'd be good. As you come back, which you have always come back, but you're about to be full-time back here before too long, and you'll be Citizen Gordon, and you're moving back into a place that was not the place you left when you went to Washington so many years ago. You see the growth, and everybody has an opinion on the growing our area and how much it has grown. When you look at this entire Rutherford, Davidson, Wilson, Williamson County area, that 4-county area that's just exploding, and there's a whole group of people that say, shut the gates, all that kind of, go back where you came from and all this, but they always want to do that after they get here.
Yeah.
So what is your thought on how this community has continued to grow, and what has been the catalyst for that?
Well, when I grew up, and most folks, once they got out of Central High School or out of MTSU, wherever it's going to be, they didn't come back because there really weren't jobs. And sort of my mantra through all of Congress was I wanted to, home, Murfreesboro, to be a place where you could grow up in a safe neighborhood, you could get a quality education, and find a job close to home. And so if we want our kids to be able to stay around, they've got to get a job here. So, and part of our growth is some good leadership and also good geography.
Yeah.
And I'm all for growth, but it needs to be a controlled growth. Not hither. We need to be able to, again, keep green spaces. We need to have greenways. We need to be able to not so overwhelmed that we can't have good schools. So I'm all for growth for the next generation to be able to stay, but it needs to be, thoughtful.
Speaking of growth and change, our alma mater is going through a change with a new president will be coming in after Dr. McPhee retires in December, which that has been announced. What do you feel like if you could describe what kind of person needs to be in that job at this time, what do you think it needs to be?
Well, I remember going back to the American Competes Act and going back to, I created a program to do research in the area of energy. And I told the new head of that there's going to be more good ideas than we're going to have public funds for. So we should have a program where we'll show the good ideas and let the private sector come in, pick them, and do something with them. And I said, your lawyers are going to tell you 100 reasons why you can't do something. I want you to say, give me one reason why I can. I want somebody who's going to come in here and say, I want a reason to do something, not a reason not to do something. And I want to, I think we want somebody that's going to serve the entire community. And I think it's going to be a great job for someone. And I'm excited. I think Dr. McPhee had a good run and has a legacy of bringing in new programs, a lot of new structures. I'm excited about the aviation program over in Chevable. And so I think this is going to be a jewel for the next president.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for coming in today. We've been wanting to do this for a while, and I'm really proud you did.
I'm glad to be here, and always enjoy listening to you.
All right, thanks so much.
Whether it's at this program or the ball games.
All right, Bart Gordon, former congressman from this area, joining us today. If you missed any of this, it'll be on the podcast section of WGNSradio.com. Thanks for joining us today. We'll have another episode coming up next week right here on the Big G, WGNS.